Today's video will answer all your questions about mixing products together as well as just putting them down at the same time. The two questions go hand in hand, and the best part about it is this is a video that applies to all grass types, warm season and cool season. With that, let's get into it. So I get various forms of this question all throughout the year. Sometimes it's in the context of our mobile app, Yard Mastery, recommending treatments together as a bundle, such as you see here in the Cool Season Deluxe plan. The app is recommending a fertilizer called Flagship. It's also recommending prodiamine, which is a pre-emergent herbicide to stop crabgrass, foxtail, other weeds like that. And then on top, it's also recommending Compaction Cure, which is a liquid super biostimulant. People will ask, can all these go down on the same day? Now, in that scenario, they're not talking about mixing these things together in a hopper or putting them together in a spray tank. Instead, what they want to know is, can they all go down on the same day and not cause any issues? And then the second form of this question, it's typically going to come from more advanced users who are wanting to apply ides together. Pesticides such as this post-emergent weed control here that's for warm season lawns. This is called Blindside. What they want to do is they want to tank mix that with this fungicide here. They want to put all that together and spray, and they want to know if that's going to cause any issues. And so today I'll cover both of those questions and answer them for you. Now, before I do, you heard I mentioned the lawn care app. It's called Yard Mastery. Now, I built that Yard Mastery app specifically for homeowners like you and me, and what it does is it gives you a full season lawn program that includes all the fertilizers, pre-emergents, and biostimulants you need to have a super green, thick, and vigorous lawn this season. The app is free, and the program is custom to your house based on soil temperature. Now, there's also an option for a fully custom plan that you get if you purchase one of my soil tests, and again, this is exclusively designed for homeowners. Purchase the kit, send in your soil to our lab on the West Coast, and then in about a week or so, the Yard Mastery app will populate a custom fertilization plan based on your results. I'll give you a link in the description below where you can download the Yard Mastery app for free and you can get started, or if you even want to go more granular and pick up one of the soil tests, I'll give you a link to that below as well. The idea here is to give you the greenest, most vigorous lawn to dominate in 2025. As always, thank you for supporting Yard Mastery, an American small business. Now let's get back to the video. All right, so let's get back to mixing or applying on the same day. Let me give you a general rule to follow no matter what your situation. The general rule is do not mix or apply items that have different watering in requirements. The easiest example would be, say you want to put down a pre and post-emergent herbicide at the same time or on the same day. Let's say you had granular prodiamine here. Granular prodiamine, it needs to be watered in. Now sure, it can sit for 2 to 3 days after you apply it, but keep in mind it's not working during that time. In order to be activated, it needs to be watered in, so it's important to get it watered in at least within a day. Now, in many cases in the early part of the season, you're going to have some weeds already growing. Keep in mind, prodiamine, it's a pre-emergent and it doesn't stop every weed. It really only stops annual grassy weeds like crabgrass. So in most cases in the spring, you're going to have some weeds that are popping up and you're going to want to spray those. Here's a post-emergent weed control for warm season lawns. It's called Blindside. You'll see here on the label that it tells you not to water the lawn for at least 24 hours after you apply it, but really it's better to let it sit for up to 7 days before watering. This allows the weed control to work its way through the plant and kill it. So in this case, you would not want to apply these together because the watering requirements are so much different. The two herbicides, prodiamine and Blindside, they're not going to interact with each other in a negative way. One doesn't harm the other or get in its way of working. They're two completely different modes of action. There's no issue there. In this case, the recommendation is to just be logical. Don't apply them on the same day because one needs to be watered in, that's the prodiamine, and the other one doesn't, that's the Blindside. So separate those applications by a few days and that's your best practice. Now let's stay with these two products, but let's say that you're using the prodiamine in the wettable granule formulation. This wettable granule, this can be put into a backpack sprayer and mixed into water to spray as a liquid. Now you definitely don't want to tank mix the Blindside with this because now there's really no way to separate the watering in phase. These two herbicides, they're not going to interfere with one another in the tank itself. They're not going to clump or anything like that, but logically speaking, mixing them together would really mess up your ability to water in one or the other, so you just don't mix them. And so that's the very first rule to understand here. If the products have different watering in requirements, then you don't apply them at the same time and you don't tank mix them. It's pretty simple and logical. All right, now as we get a little bit more into the details here, let me pause and say this. Read the label on the products that you're applying. In many cases, especially on these ides, pesticides, there will be information about mixing them together or not. For the most part, products that are available to you and me can be mixed together or applied the same day, but again, always read the label, especially when you're using ides. Okay, now next, we're gonna look at some specific scenarios by breaking down our applications into 4 categories. Those categories represent applications that you'll see me making on the channel here and that you might find in the Yard Mastery app. The categories are fertilizers and biostimulants, herbicides, insecticides, and fungicides. You'll hear me referring to those as the Ides, and remember, those are all pesticides. Pesticides kill pests. So fertilizers, they're applied to thicken up the lawn and green it up, and biostimulants are applied to support that fertilization by targeting soil health. Herbicides, we've mentioned in an example earlier, they knock out weeds. We have pre-emergent herbicides like prodiamine to prevent weeds, and then we have post-emergent herbicides like I showed you blindside that kill weeds that have already appeared in the lawn. You can get these in both granular and liquid forms. Insecticides, they're applied to the lawn to kill insects. Some of these are designed to go after subsurface insects like grubs or mole crickets, and others are designed to go after surface feeding insects like sod webworm or armyworm, while others are designed for general nuisance pest control, killing like ants, fleas, and spiders and ticks. It's your job to read the label to understand the target pest that you're going after and whether or not that insecticide needs to be watered in. These you can also get in liquid form or granular. Now lastly, we have fungicides. These are applied to stop or prevent fungus that's in the lawn, and these can also be found in liquid and granular form. So people often wonder, is it safe to apply these together or mix them together? In other words, if I apply too many of these on the same day, is it going to be too much? Will it stress the lawn? And in general, the answer is no. They all have a different target that they're going after and working on, and so they don't have really any overlap. So you could apply 2406 flagship fertilizer. You could turn right around on top of that and apply pre-emergent the same day. And then if you had disease issues or you're preventing disease, you could turn around and right on top, you could apply Scott's Disease X. And then even if you had maybe some subsurface mole cricket you're going after, or that's causing you a problem, at the same time, you could apply this 24-hour insect killer. You could even finish it all off with an application of compaction cure to settle it all in. The key here is that all of these, they need to be watered in. Like I mentioned, they have different targets, and therefore they're not going to interfere with one another, and they're not going to stress the lawn. The good news here is that they all need to be watered in. The granular fertilizer, the prodiamine, these need to get into the soil. So does the disease control, and because we're going after mole crickets, subsurface, this insect control, it needs to be watered in too. Now, if you wanted to do a similar mixture and you wanted to do it all in liquid, you could get your 4-gallon backpack here, fill it up with water halfway first. But when you're adding the products to make a liquid spray, you do it in this order. You do your dry flowables or wettable granules first. So this is prodiamine and a wettable granule. This is fungicide, again, a wettable granule. So those would go in first. Add each one separately and agitate. Then the next would be your liquid concentrates. This is actually a acelepryn. This is for subsurface feeding insects as well. And you would add this in next and agitate. And then the last thing you put in are your fertilizers and biostimulants. So I got 2600 green charge. You put that in, agitate, then put in your compaction cure biostimulant, agitate, fill the rest up with water, agitate again, go out and spray and pray, hope for the best, you're good to go. And of course, water it in when you're done, because everything here needs to be watered in. All right, now a couple things to think about. That can be a lot of stuff in the tank, and if you have a cheaper sprayer, it may not be able to push all that very well. The Yard Mastery sprayer, it has a powerful 1 gallon per minute pump, and it will easily push this thick mixture. I'll give you a link below. And secondly, with some mixes like this, it is possible to experience some clumping or separating in the tank. So far, I've been telling you that these products, they're okay to apply to the lawn at the same time. They're not going to negatively interact with each other. They're not going to hurt anything in the lawn. There's no harm that way. But that doesn't mean that they'll play nicely together in an actual tank mix. Sometimes these products, when they get together, they can foam up or they can clump up, and that's where a jar test is a good idea. Now, I'm not going to do a jar test for you here, but essentially what you do in a jar test, and you'll see this recommended on labels of products, is you mix small amounts of whatever you're going to put together into a jar, shake it up, and see if it clumps or separates or foams up. If it does, that tells you these aren't going to play nice together, so you can't mix them. And again, I want to reiterate, it's not about that these products are going to have a problem in the lawn, they're going to have a negative effect on the soil or the grass. It's just they don't play together inside that tank, nothing more. Okay, now I know we've covered a lot of ground here, but I wanted to end this video talking about hose and sprayers. Everything I mentioned above, it's about you applying products separately, but on the same day, or maybe you have a backpack sprayer and you're mixing all the products in there and you're adding water. But when it comes to a hose and sprayer, it's only 32 ounces total, so there isn't really enough room to add water first and then a whole bunch of product. On top of that, and as a rule, I almost never recommend spraying your Ides, like insecticides and fungicides or weed control, out of a hose and sprayer. First off, most of them, they're not labeled for it. When it comes to pesticides, if there's no instructions or rates listed for hose and sprayers, then you should not apply them with that method. I know there's YouTubers out there that they do it and they show you, but again, if it's not on the label, I don't recommend it. The other thing is, hose and sprayers are typically just not going to deliver a precision enough application to apply ides. However, they are great for fertilizers and biostimulants that have variable rates up and down. So if you get a little bit more over there or a little bit less over there, everything should be fine. So remember, hose end sprayers are great for fertilizers and biostimulants only. And so the final question is, well, can I mix fertilizers and biostimulants together in a hose end sprayer? The answer is yes, but sometimes different combinations, they may clump together in the tank, and if that happens, then the simple answer there is just don't mix those together again. An example of two that you can mix would be aerate and RGS. We've been doing these for years. Fill a little bit of water in the tank first, 9 ounces of each one of these in, then fill the rest up with water, and from there you can spray 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. Those are not going to clump up. The good news there is I just released Compaction Cure, which has everything that Aerate and RGS has, plus it's got a wetting agent in it that helps penetration. So really, you don't even need to mix those together anymore. You just buy the concentrated Compaction Cure, bam, throw that in, spray and pray, and you're good to go. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, and I know that when I make videos like this that I don't answer every single question, and sometimes I get so detailed that it creates even more questions. The good news there is that we have a comment section below where you can leave those questions, and I'll be sure to answer them. And while you're down there, will you hit that like button and be sure to subscribe. As always, thank you for supporting me in my growing small business yard mastery. Throw her down, hope for the best, and I'll see you in the lawn.